And of course, I used to give lectures out there. I used to love doing that before they closed down, and have the people come out, and then they could meet other people of like-mindedness. I like that. I've always liked getting people together, and they can share their stories and their ideas and their techniques of mining, because sometimes I've run into people who've got ideas I've never even heard of before, or stories I've never even heard of. And I really like that. I like people sharing this stuff and building a community and getting involved. And because this stuff is a dying art form, I don't think there's many people out there that do this kind of thing. Not on the scale that I'm doing. And so I want to get people involved so they can learn, because one day I'm not going to be able to do this. I want to retire. I want to live in this cabin and relax. So I'm going to pass it on, and hopefully someone will pick up the torch. And getting back to your question, it felt pretty good. I was actually really happy that people liked what I did, and that motivated me to want to do it more. So I did more videos, and now we're up to 450 videos. So, and I'm going to keep on going, because there's, believe it or not, I'm still learning too. There's times I've been out in the field and Mother Nature threw me a curveball, and I'm like, I ain't never seen this before. I need to make a video on it. I need to tell the people what I'm seeing. So that's what I'll do. Or if I'll learn a new technique, like I'll have a buddy of mine say, oh, Jeff, there's a new way that you can work sulfides now. They got a new type of flux that they're using where you don't have to roast at all. You need to do this. Well, heck, why didn't you tell me about that sooner? So I start practicing with that, and then when I get confident, I make video on it. So that's one of the next videos we got lined up is how to process your sulfides without having to roast, because roast is so dangerous, especially if you've got any type of arsenic mixed in with it, and you breathe those fumes. That'll be the last thing you ever do.
And you're using terminology that if somebody's watching this that doesn't watch your channel on a regular basis, doesn't know what a roast is, can you give a quick description of what a roast is?
Well, when you're working with a refractory ore, or that when you break it down. All right.
It just led to more big words.
Yeah, I know, right? When you're working with iron pyrite, which is a sulfide, it's basically iron and sulfur that have combined together. And there's a reason for that, but I'm not getting into it right now. Sometimes gold can hitch onto it for a ride as it's coming up. And what a lot of miners do is they'll see that. They call it fool's gold, iron pyrite. And it does have different compositions. You can have antimony in there. You can have arsenic. You can have a whole host of different things in there. But the idea is that you want to get rid of the sulfur and free up whatever gold is attached to the iron in there. So what a lot of guys do is, to get that, and mining companies too, is they'll have to crush it into a fine powder, concentrate it, and then they'll have to roast the sulfur out of it. And that can be dangerous. You have to heat it anywhere from 700 degrees to 1,000 degrees for about 30 to 40 minutes. And you have to have it in an oxygenated environment so that the sulfur will leave. And you have to constantly stir it so that you do create that type of environment. And the problem is as the sulfur leaves, it can create hydrogen sulfide and sulfur dioxide. And of course, if there's arsenic in there, you can have arsenic gas coming from that. And if you breathe it in, of course, it's going to ruin your day. Yeah. So that's what roasting is. And big companies, they'll use a what's called a roaster. It looks like a giant trommel, except it's much longer. And it's got flame heaters on it, and it'll rotate the ore inside. And what it's doing is it's mixing it and aerating it, oxygenating it, and creating a hot environment to burn the sulfur off. And then when it comes out the other end, it looks like a brownish red, sometimes black or sometimes deep red. Looks like hematite, because that's basically what it is. And then from there, it's easier to get the gold out, because you can use gravitational separation to get the gold out from that point. You can do another grind. You can remove the magnetics, and then you can run it through, like, say, a Knudsen bowl or a wave table or an RP4 or something to that effect to get the gold out. So getting back to the roast, that's what roasting is. Sulfides can carry gold, not all the time. You have to do an assay on it to find out if there is gold in it. If there is, then you have to crush, concentrate, roast, and then separate. So why it's so important, getting back to what I was saying, is a lot of guys don't like to roast. So there's a new technique. It's not new, but it's new to most people, is where there's a new flux that you use where you don't have to roast the sulfides. You put them together in the crucible, and you heat them together in one shot. And you put in some iron nails so that the sulfur is drawn to the iron. And you do everything in one shot, and then you can do a pour. You won't have a mat that sits on top of your prill at the very end. So I think it's really good, and we've got everything to do it. We just need to make the video. We've got the sulfides, we've got the equipment, and we've got all the new types of fluxes that they just came out with. And I always tell people where to get this stuff too, so they can do it themselves. A&B is a good place to get chemicals. We did videos on mercury, everything from amalgamation to retorting. And people are like, "Oh, isn't that dangerous?" Not if you know what you're doing. It's not dangerous at all.
Now, mercury, that's what you hear about a lot. And when you hear dirty gold, you hear about mercury a lot and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, and amalgamation and mercury's got a bad name, and I don't know how it got to that point. I don't know if people started eating it or what, but I've used mercury for years, and as long as your retort is sound, you're good to go. If you got leaks in your retort, well, it's like playing Russian roulette. You sniff any of that, and you're dead. So
that's what that P100 mask is for.
Yeah, I know, right? But you can't find them no more because they're gone.
Yeah, the virus has got them all.
So I have Slim do it for me.
I saw you in your video you posted 3 days ago wearing a P100 mask, and I wear the same thing just when I'm cutting stones. And I mean, I've had so many people comment, "Oh, that's not needed. You don't need one that's that good," and blah blah blah. And I'm like,
wow.
When you're working with mercury vapor, you definitely need a P100 mask. The ones that they're touting now, the N95, the dust masks, that's not going to be good enough.
No, it's not going to work. All it takes is a little bit of those fumes, if your retort is leaking, to get up in there, and it's going to ruin your day. I guarantee it. So that's why a lot of people don't like working with mercury. It does work. There's a lot of secrets behind mercury people don't realize. Like you can have what's called sick mercury. Now, that's an old expression that the old timers came up with, and it's when mercury has reached its limit, where it can't do its job anymore, and it has to be distilled again. There are different techniques, and I've gone over that. Sometimes you can use a car battery and an anode and a cathode to do that. But the best way to do it is to distill it using a retort. You distill it. That's why when you buy it, it says triple distilled. They run it through 3 times because you need to clean out all the junk that's stuck inside the mercury. Because if there's junk in there, you'll tell. Trust me, when you see it in the pan, it's not moving like it normally does. It looks like a dirty grayish tin color, and it just doesn't pick gold up anymore. And they call that sick mercury. And you got to clean it up so it'll do its job again. So, but like I said, I could go on and on about all different extraction techniques, things that you probably never heard of before.